Welcome movie lovers. Today I will be reviewing 50 Shades Freed. But since I never reviewed the first two films because I was attempting to avoid the hate, I felt I'd briefly touch on the first two films, then move on to the third. If you don't want to hear me talk about those films and just want to hear my review on Freed, then you can just click on the timestamp in the description box below and jump right to it. Firstly, I am a fan of the books. First time I got them, I read them back to back and was hooked. When I was done, I just went back and read them again. So I was excited that they were going to become movies. I think many people feel that way about books being adapted because you get to see the characters you invested time and energy in your head be brought to life. But it's a double-edged sword because if the film doesn't match the image in your head, it can leave you very disappointed. Ultimately, I did enjoy 50 Shades of Grey. I was impressed with how much they tried to include from the book. We all know you can't make it identical, it's just not possible, so I'm impressed by what they were able to do. The only problems I had with it was one, it is too catered to those who have read the book. Readers know the in-betweens and what means what and don't have to ask those questions. First-time viewers do, and that's not fair. Another issue is some of the choices in the scenes. There were too many scenes where one of the characters is just depicted as sitting there looking deep in thought. This does not progress the story, does not help the audience understand the characters at all. This is again part of the catering to the readers because the readers know exactly what the characters are thinking. If they had taken out many of those scenes, they would have been able to include scenes from the book where we get to learn more about the characters, like how Anna's birth father died and her stepfather Ray is the only father she's ever known. We even could have learnt more about Christian and just how damaged by his past he is. Even the scenes they deleted were scenes they should have kept. Thank goodness for extended cuts. As I said, ultimately, I do like the film. I get to see characters I was invested in be put on the big screen, and for that I was happy, but the movie wasn't without its flaws. Next we have 50 Shades Darker, which was quite the improvement from the first movie. This time around the story is clearer, the characters are much better fleshed out, and we can distinctly see an evolution in the characters. Now, this movie included a lot more scenes from the books, and many of them very accurate, so that's impressive again to see them trying so hard to give fans what they want. But my biggest issue was pacing. It bounced from one scene to the next and then the next so quickly you struggle to catch up. Readers can catch up, first-time viewers are going to have some difficulty. There was never one scene flowing into another scene, it was just, here's a scene and here's a scene. But they did include a lot of scenes I wanted to see, however there was one scene which was in the trailers and was the one scene everyone wanted to see, and they cut it from the film. Big mistake. Even Dakota Johnson was annoyed because it took them like 3 days to film and they worked hard on it and they just got rid of it. It should have been left in, thank goodness again for extended cuts. This was a big improvement from the first movie, but like the first movie, had some flaws. Now on to the reason we're all here. 50 Shades Freed is an American erotic romantic drama film directed by James Foley and written by Neil Leonard based on the novel of the same name by E.L. James. It is the third and final installment in the 50 Shades film series after 2015's 50 Shades of Grey and 2017's 50 Shades Darker. In this, we see Anastasia and Christian get married, but the return of Jack Hyde not only sees the couple's relationship in danger, but their very lives. Of all three movies, this is the one I am most conflicted about. I will begin by saying I definitely enjoyed this, just in case people take everything that follows to mean I didn't. The performances across the board are solid, side characters are given more screen time and dialogue, which means the actors playing them get a better chance at showcasing their talents. The standout for me was Brant Doherty, who plays Luke Sawyer, Anna's bodyguard. He did a brilliant job. He's one of those actors who, even when he's not saying anything, he still makes sure you notice what he's doing, and for me that is always a sign of a good actor. I think Dakota Johnson and Jamie Dornan do a really good job with what they're given. One of the problems though is they're not given enough. But I do continue to love their chemistry together, it feels very natural and I like that. When it comes to character development, it's a bit of a mixed bag. I love that we see how much Anna has grown. She has evolved from someone who was very insecure about not only her body and her sexuality, but even her intelligence and confidence. She is a confident and smart woman, but she never gave herself the chance to be. In this film, she is much more confident and it shows. So the very distinct progression of her character is great. Then there's Christian, who has definitely evolved as well, but not to the degree he should. He is more relaxed, more fun-loving, but he is still a damaged individual with a lot of things from his past weighing him down. When it came to the books, I always related to Christian the most, especially because of his issues due to his past. So the fact that the films have refrained so much from delving into that aspect of him is really infuriating. It is also sad that we never get to see just how unfamiliar Christian is with love and relationships. Had that been expressed a little more, I think viewers might have developed a bit more sympathy for the character. Jack Hyde, played by Eric Johnson, is our central villain, which means many aspects of this film were moving into thriller territory, and that was exciting. When they focused on the Jack Hyde story, they delivered it, and delivered it very well. You don't know what his motivation is, you don't know how far he'll go unless you've read the books, so watching those moments unfold was very exciting. In fact, the most exciting scene for me was the car chase. That was really fun to watch, I'm not gonna lie, and I wouldn't mind owning that car. However, the downside is they didn't go into the connection between Hyde and Christian enough. There was more to it in the books, and they touched on it briefly in the film, but moved on from it so quickly it wasn't very memorable. Given so much of this film plot is about Christian and Hyde and not Anna and Hyde, they should have mentioned it more. This isn't me comparing book to film, this is me saying it is not fair to withhold information that makes the story interesting and makes more sense when certain members of the audience don't have a book to go off for reference. This film faces the same issues as the previous films, poor pacing and editing. Once again, in an attempt to include as much from the books as possible, they have condensed a lot of scenes and then bundled them together, which means there is a lot of jumping from one scene to another almost sporadically. The only time the pacing slows down enough to be enjoyable was during scenes focusing on Hyde. I have to commend the way the film is shot because it is just absolutely beautiful. There was a special attention to detail with scenes shot overseas as to better capture the scenery, and I felt that was a beautiful touch. The music choices for this film were pretty terrific, and I felt many of them were given perfect placement, which amps things up. Danny Elfman once again scored the film as he did with the previous two, and it is clear the man has a terrific ear. His score was a perfect reflection of the film. There are plenty of changes from the book, but for the most part I can handle them because frankly they were needed to make the transition from book to screen. In fact, some of them were very clever. Freed introduces Anna's bodyguard Sawyer and Samantha Prescott, played by Kirsten Alter. Now, while these characters were actually introduced in the second book, the way it was done in this film actually works. Although it seemed ridiculous to introduce Prescott and then hardly ever use her, but when they did, they made her stand out. In the book, Sawyer takes down Hyde in the penthouse before Anna can be placed in danger, but in the film, Anna is definitely in danger and both Sawyer and Prescott come to her rescue, with Prescott delivering a very impressive blow to Hyde. I must admit I rather enjoyed this. Character Jose Rodriguez, played by Victor Rasic, is once again given more screen time than he was ever meant to, and it doesn't add anything to the film. In addition to these changes, the film includes a scene of Jack Hyde applying for bail, which is a nice addition but bites itself in the ass because they then fail to reveal who pays for his bail and how he gets out, which was a pretty important issue that only readers would know. Also, can someone please tell me why they kept giving Anna those diva sunglasses? They were over the top and ridiculous, and I just wanted them to go away. If she had to wear some, couldn't they have been, I don't know, better? I also feel I must mention the trailer. This is the second time the main trailer released for one of the films features many scenes that were not featured in the film. As far as I'm concerned, it's just false advertising at this point. Now, I'm sure like before, these scenes will be released with the DVD in an uncut extended version, which is great, but not everyone is going to buy the DVDs. Stop removing vital scenes or scenes that at least explain things better just to save a couple minutes. I think most people would rather watch a movie that makes sense instead of a movie 3 minutes shorter in runtime. My biggest problem with the film was the ending. The film abruptly ends with a lead up to a sex scene which did not feel correctly placed at all. In fact, it should have taken place earlier in the film. It was very cute and sweet and somewhat predictable to end with a flashback of the previous films and how the characters have come so far from where they started to where they are now, and I completely understand why that was done, but it just didn't work. It would have been much better to give them a real ending and a more thorough conclusion to the events in the film and then lead to the mid-credit uncredited scene, which takes place 2 to 4 years in the future. It's a cute and beautiful scene, and it definitely needed to be there, but the connection between the end of the film and that scene isn't there, and it makes that very last scene disjointed. In fact, having it a mid-credit scene with so little going on was almost offensive. At the end of the day, are fans of the books going to enjoy this? Yes, I believe majority of them will. Even myself enjoyed it despite its many flaws, and I can confirm all the women in the audience loved it too. I take solace in knowing I'll be getting the DVD in a few months, which is going to clear up a hell of a lot when I'm watching the uncut version. Are non-fans of the book going to enjoy it? I'm calling it now, no. I do believe all aspects of the film revolving around Hyde the viewers might enjoy, because that's the exciting and frankly well-paced parts, but everything else I am 100% certain they will hate. I mean, if you haven't enjoyed the others by now, this one has no hope of impressing them. But I am very glad I saw it. I'm sad to see it come to an end, but I enjoy that I got a chance to watch the characters I invested time in be brought to life, and I thank the studio for giving me that. So, for now, I will sit back and await E.L. James to release Freed from Christian's perspective. Thank you so much for watching. If you're not already, please subscribe to this channel for future content. Until next time, bye.
I'm crazy, but when I'm flying in your cage, I'm diving in deep and I'm riding with no brakes, and I'm bleeding your love when you're swimming in my veins. You got me now. Been waiting for a